Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the mastery of silence as essentially being what it means to master the self. For it is in silence that we witness our psyche and our mind and our experience in its most intimate and subtle forms. We need a silence of awareness and a silence to our focus so that we can actually see what we are looking at. And, I feel it is certainly the case for many people that when their noise is not silent, when it is scattered and noisy and being driven to all these different things, these distractions, when one is not able to keep a mind that is silent and one-pointed, their life force, their energy ends up getting wasted in so many different needless and frivolous pursuits. I think many of us, we want to cultivate and develop this ability to focus on what we deem most important and not to have our mind be, taken away from what we care about. Many of us want this, but it is difficult to develop for many people. And in this video, I'm putting forward the argument that if you want to cultivate a mind that is able to focus upon what it most intimately wants, then you must know how to develop a mind that is silent. And the only way to develop a mind that is silent is through looking at the mind, through observing, through witnessing, through pausing, slowing down, and zooming out from your life as it is being experienced in the here and now. You see, we are always in the here and now, the present moment. But many of us, we do not acknowledge that. We're not acknowledging the present moment because we are looking through the present moment into what our mind wants, what our ego wants. We're not admiring the journey, so to speak, because we're focusing on, what we want to get out of this experience, right? To sort of explain what I mean in a sort of an easy and clear way, we don't appreciate the present moment. We don't appreciate our present experience because we are stuck in this sort of this mental or psychological realm of being in our heads, so to speak, stuck in our inner monologues, our worries and our anxieties, the burden of all of our responsibilities, this kind of weight of thought that sort of creates this cluster of tense energy here, and a tense energy that sort of stresses the whole body. We feel agitated and restless and anxious, and we don't quite know why. And one way of looking at this entire medley of experiences where our anxious thoughts are creating a stressed body is through acknowledging that when our mind is not silent, when our mind is not peaceful, when it's not aware and calmly and dispassionately witnessing the moment, when it is not in this state, it is in a different state, a state where we are locked in our heads, like I said, locked in our thoughts, locked in our worries about reality. And those thoughts trigger a cascade of physiological and bodily reactions, such as, our stress response being activated. And when our stress response is activated, we are not resting. We are not in a state of replenishing our body. Our body is preparing to run away, to escape, to enact some kind of, highly energetic damage minimization response. And as we know, when our stress response is activated, our energy goes into that pursuit of fixing the problem or escaping the problem. The energy of our body does not go into, say, digesting our food, replenishing our muscles, replenishing our bodily organs, we're too stressed to do that sort of thing. So, as I've sort of, hopefully sketched out, our mind, the measure of how peaceful our mind is, can be sort of, casually estimated as the measure of how many intrusive thoughts, particularly stressful thoughts, grip our awareness and occupy our attention. And when we inquire into this, often we don't observe our thoughts, right? We don't observe our thoughts, we are caught in them. And our attention on it and our energy is caught in those, what we may say, the worry loops, these cycles of anxiety about a potentially bad future. That's one psychological trap that many of us are in. We feel anxious for the future. We don't know how we're going to afford the future. We're worried about this thing going wrong, that thing going wrong. And all of our attention and our energy and our mind that's all it thinks about. And, what if for a moment we could, slow down from that, not silence that aspect of ourselves, but in fact, slow down and observe it and watch it and be like, okay, here are some thoughts occurring. They are gripping my body and my mind in this moment. And we can ask from a higher knowing, is it useful? Is it practical to indulge in these thoughts, to give more reality to these thoughts? Because we sustain the existence of thoughts and our worries through paying attention to them. Our attention gives greater reality to that which we direct it to. So what I'm asking you to do to not have a mind that is noisy and sort of weighed down with anxiety, to not have this sort of mind, you have to figure out how to move your attention away from such things, not to avoid processing these problems, not to bypass them, but we should be able to identify when our attention is too sharply fixating on these negative thoughts, and when it is giving too much reality to it. Because in fact, when we give too much reality to a negative outcome occurring, when that is the outcome that we most expect, very often that creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because your beliefs and your thoughts shape reality in a subtle and almost magical kind of effect. This isn't to say that we can just gaslight ourselves into manifesting anything. Manifestation is a very complex, psychical process by which we engage with this impersonal aspect of reality, this aspect of reality that we do not know, that is unknown to us. And what I'm going to say is that a lot of people speak about the law of attracting. You attract what you are, and there is a certain truth to that. There is a certain truth to that in terms of our beliefs about reality predispose the way we interact with reality. And it predisposes what our mind has a tendency to look at, to focus upon. And if we are only focusing on the negative aspects of reality, if that's what our attention is sampling for our model of the world, then your model of the world is going to be that. But we should always remember that our small little egos, they only ever experience a small cluster of experiences. They never experience everything. And what people have a tendency to do, we experience a small cluster of things. Perhaps they're bad, perhaps they're negative, perhaps they're ambiguous, and we extrapolate from that small cluster of experiences. Oh, every experience must be like this. Every experience must be bad. This is what happens in depression, right? We fall into this sort of psychological rut, and we generalize that rut to consume everything in reality. We think because this bit is shit, everything else must be shit. But reality is just a field of potentials. Reality is just an ambiguous, perhaps you could call it neutral, field of potentials. And, you know, what will you choose from that field of potentials? Do you choose to be weighed down by worries and anxieties about some ephemeral future? Or do you choose to be radically present with what is? And understanding that the present moment is neither positive nor negative. It transcends that. It transcends our our binaries. Now, I don't want to lose too many people here, but sometimes when you go a bit deeper, there are these sort of cascades of understanding. And I guess the summary of what I am speaking about in terms of how when we are locked in our mentalizing, thought-based realities, we can get locked into certain karmic cycles, And what I'm asking you is that to throw off those shackles, you have to transcend the mental realm. You have to transcend the realm of thought and identification in order to be present in a way that you are observing or becoming one with the primordial silence of being, the primordial ground of being. In many different mystical traditions, they describe the silence of God, the silence of the Tao, of Brahman, this spaciousness that is existence. The best way I understand it is that, our thoughts are like ripples of a guitar string. They're the vibrations, the emanations of that guitar string. And when we get lost in those ripples, those vibrations, yes, we hear the song of life. And some of those songs are good, some of those songs are bad. But we should understand that they are both songs that are emanating from the same string. I'm asking you, when your mind is silent, not vibrating like this, it's not scattered. The guitar string is stilled and is at rest. And when the mind is at rest, when it comes to this slow, steady silence, then you can see clearly and observe clearly. All this noise, it takes your attention. It creates this big sinkhole for your attention. And when your attention is here, you are ignoring everything else. You can't see everything else. You can't highlight it. When your mind slows down, when it stops getting lost in these cycles of worries about the future and these sort of projections and anxieties about the past, when it can finally see what is here and now, it will discover much more within our being, much more that transcends the mental realm. It can see into the body, the processes of the body. How does the body feel exactly? And meditation is the continuous unfolding of perception, exploring the nature of the body, all these sorts of internal sensations, and as well the sensations of the outside. We can see, what does this tree really look like? What does my hand really look like? How often do I spend time just looking and observing my hand, the patterns on it? The hand is, it has a story about the entire life. But we just look at it and we just say, it's just a hand. We label it with the word and then we move on. But what if we could just see reality without labeling it, without sort of reducing it to a concept and then just moving on and believing that because we've reduced something to a concept, we understand the entirety of it. The perception of a mystic is inherently a non-conceptual one. It's one that transcends concepts. It's almost like you're seeing the object as it is prior to when your mind and your the conscious rationalizing categorizer within you has sort of named it and labeled it. We can still label reality, but we should not get lost in the labels. We should not believe that this propositional knowledge of the world that we are accumulating is everything there is to know. There is also non-propositional knowing. Philosophy, epistemology. There's also the knowing that you have of how to ride a bike or how to speak itself, how to shift your attention from one object to another. You know, we know how to do these things, but we cannot explain in words how we know how to look from this finger to that finger. You just do it. And that's a remarkable thing about the intelligence of our body and the real lack of consciousness, I suppose a linguistic consciousness that we have of it. And yet so often we get so lost in the words, you know, the words and the labels and the descriptions. We live in descriptions and stories of reality. We don't live in the direct experience, the felt here and now of reality. And whilst we may say that we do, we don't really. Because when you really are there, you're just silent. Like those sort of sayings that go there. A man who speaks does not know. The man who doesn't speak knows, or something like that. But like saying that, I suppose there is a certain sense of irony in the fact that I'm speaking about all of this, but I'm speaking with a sort of self-consciousness, awareness that the words themselves are not the thing itself. The words are pointers. The finger that points to the moon is not the moon, as the Zen saying goes. And I think that's a good place to sort of to sign off there. Yeah, that's been interesting. That's been insightful, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.